Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Koss, and welcome to another podcast edition here at Kev Advotech. I hope you've had a chance to watch part one. I'm going to reintroduce my friend and old colleague, Steve Cowherd. Steve and I spent some time on part one of our video podcast. Steve suffered a traumatic brain injury in 2018. And he and I reconnected recently, and just an amazing conversation we had. And this kind of developed into an agreement that we were going to do a podcast. Steve is just a wealth of information, and he speaks from the heart and really shares some of his experiences. And he's kind of developed what his top 10 list is here of lessons learned, or Steve, as you like to say, lessons learning, right? It's still always a work in progress, and I understand that completely. So, Steve, before we go to the deck, I'd like you to say hello to the audience once again, and then we'll get rolling.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome, and thanks for coming to our second episode of this podcast series.
Great. Awesome. Well, Steve, we're going to jump into it here. So if you want to start sharing the deck on the screen, that would be great. So for those of you that missed part one, I do encourage you to go back on the Kev Advotech YouTube channel and check out part one. We really get into a deep intro with Steve. You get to learn a whole lot about this fascinating guy. And Steve is incredibly inspiring in how he's learned and kind of gone through some painful learning processes. But I'm just so impressed the way he's organized his thoughts, and he's put his shared experiences together into this presentation. So part one was more of an introduction to Steve, little history. I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope you'll go back and watch that one. Part two today, we're going to jump right into it. Top 10 lessons learned. And we'll see how far we get today. We're going to run this about 30, 40 minutes. Maybe we'll get through the first 4 or 5, Steve. I don't know. But then we'll cap it off, and we'll come back next week or so for part 3. So, Steve, let's take it away, buddy.
Okay. We ended our first segment with this slide, so I thought I would post that up there for a moment and also leave you with another thought. Many people have asked, well, do you have this in a certain order on what should you tackle first and those kind of things? I just want to point out these things are so interconnected. Not working on one affects another, and those kind of things that this is something that you need to try to work on all of these things at once. They're so intertwined that not working on one can cause issues with another. And so I'd like to start with that, but
that makes perfect sense, Steve.
Yeah. So it's not a David Letterman top 10. Each one of these are equally weighted.
Yeah, I love it.
First one I chose is identify your support team. I just want people to know that TBI recovery is a team sport. It can't be accomplished alone. You need support in many different ways. You and your primary caregiver will need to recruit, develop, and manage your own support team. Start early and expand as needed. I currently use a neurologist, which helps with my medications and general directions if things are turning worse instead of better. I used a functional neurologist, which really helped me learn so much about the brain and about neuroplasticity and how the brain can heal itself. I
Steve,
go,
if I could stop you there,
yeah,
you already just piqued my interest here. So
uh-huh,
our Kevin, who our audience knows is my oldest son, Kevin's 37, has a traumatic brain injury since the age of 15. He certainly has a neurologist, but sounds like it's two different people or two different professionals, right?
they,
So
they, they are very different professionals. A neurologist is a medical doctor of sorts that can do medicine and those kind of things. A functional neurologist is more of a they handle therapy and neuroplasticity, how to improve your situation. They're often referred to as chiropractic neurologists. Uh,
mm-hmm.
a very bad term. Most people call them functional neurologists now. Chiropractic neurologists, people think, oh, what's cracking my back got to do with? These people are very deeply trained in how the brain works and various different therapies from hyperbaric oxygen and all of that kind of stuff. I learned more about the brain from these people in a 2 week intensive session with them than I have during my history. They were compassionate, but they pushed you and they tested you going in. They tested you coming out, and they could show you results.
Show you progress and
Yeah,
where
yeah,
some of
yeah.
the deficits are, right?
Very holistic in nature. No drugs. They do recommend supplements,
Mm-hmm.
and they do recommend lots of different therapies, supplements, and real focus a lot on nutrition as well. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah,
interesting. That's
yeah,
great. I didn't
yeah.
want to slow you down here, but
No,
that's
no, no.
that's
This is
very
perfect. This is
interesting.
why we're doing this way.
Yeah.
I have an optometrist, but they are a Nora vision specialist, which specialize in neurological issues that and how they interact with the eyes. And that's been a game changer for me as well. It's helped me with balance issues. It's helped me with fatigue issues due to just understanding more and identifying the issues with my eyes. I can tell you right now, when I left the functional neurologist, he says your gaze stabilization in your eyes is your biggest challenge right now. They did everything. They did eyes. It was like a boot camp.
Wow.
But I came back, went to this guy. You know, usually resources are hard to find. I started researching, and I live in a little small town in Kentucky, and one of the best ones in the country is right here in my town. So
Wow. So
yeah, yeah,
you got pretty lucky there, it
yeah,
sounds
I
like.
got
Yeah.
very lucky. I can tell you, that was my one piece of luck I found with resources. Yes,
Nice.
I've got a hearing and communication specialist. They monitor my hearing and my adjust my hearing aids and all of that kind of stuff. And when I go in about quarterly or so, and I tell them that I think I'm all better and I can hear, they put me in the booth and I take the test and I get to watch them laugh at me again. Hearing doesn't get better, evidently.
No, that's a
I have
tough
a
one.
primary care physician. I'm 60 years old. I have other problems like carpal tunnel. I got degenerative disc disease, and I got all kinds of other things that come along with you being up in age and putting a lot of mileage on that old body of yours, and
I'm
a
with
lot of
you on
mileage
that one.
on mine. And so I have a primary care physician as well. I've got a licensed clinical social worker that does the cognitive therapy. We do EMDR therapy, which is for PTSD. It seems to be doing very well. I really click with the lady that I'm going to. I can tell you it's taken me 4 years to find somebody to do counseling with that I could click with and work with, and it's been a godsend. I can tell you, I wish I had it 3 years ago.
Sure.
I'd be so much further down the road. I hired a life coach after I got to dig me out of the basement of rock bottom after being put on the hold, the psychiatric hold, and I hired a life coach. I searched the internet far and wide, and I saw this video of this lady speaking. Her name is Natalie Kelly. I saw her speaking, and she said things I've been trying to say for 2 years. She said it elegantly and very precise. Yeah.
Yeah. And Steve, I think you shared with us on the first episode, she actually is a TBI survivor as well.
Right? As well. She's a TBI survivor, a very big advocate, and she's a life coach. What better person to guide you through trying to navigate the waters of a TBI than someone that's had one and been down that road before. So
sure, absolutely.
It's been great from a success standpoint for me. I have a speech therapist that I work with to help with communication issues. We're still honing in on that. The dyslexia stuff is very new to me.
What's been your, I'm curious on speech therapists, Steve, what's your, I don't want to use the word luck, but what's your experience been with that? And the reason I ask is because our Kevin, we've had a number of different ones over the years, right? It seems, first off, you got to have the right match, and you don't know until sometimes you sit down and you meet them for the first time, and whether that chemistry is there, right? Yeah. And then secondly, what we found over the years is it kind of runs a gamut. Like Kevin will respond, early on to some of the exercises and things that they may put him through, and he benefits from, but then unfortunately, that kind of trails off, and then we go, okay, it's time to take a break, and then at some point we go on and we search for another speech therapist. Just curious what your experience has been.
Well, the speech therapist that I had during my acute phase of recovery is the same one that I have now, only in a different light. So she was with a rehab place that everybody gets funneled through from the hospital, and she has started her own. She's actually a board member of the Brain Injury Alliance here in Kentucky. She's fine. Her methods are very different. The method I have very specific things that challenge me at work that I'm working on, and sure. I bring in my work computer and respond to emails in front of her, or something like that, and she without saying a lot, she points subtle things out, and for some reason it just kind of sticks in my head, and I go home and I got to work on it, and I got to dig, and I got to dig, and I got to dig. It's how I ran across that I'm dyslexic. Right. for lack of a better word.
Right, but it sounds like she's observing you and your environment, right? Mm-hmm. Work is a big important part of your life still, and mm-hmm. she's kind of observing and giving you some coaching tips or whatever on how to be most efficient.
Yeah, she is actually I talked to her and I said, I go to support groups, I do this, but I don't hear from people that work, and I need to understand the challenges of people that I even told her I don't think they exist. I don't think people with brain injuries working exist. I've never ran across them. To the trade stories and experiences from staying in the workplace and the challenges. She actually said they do exist, and I'm going to start a support group for you. And so
Wow.
we had our first meeting last month. We have our second meeting this month. That we have a support group called the Working Brain, and it's for people that deal with that have traumatic brain injuries that are in the workplace, and
Okay.
how they cope with things, and how they handle the workplace. And so it's been very good. I really she dug deep, and I told her they didn't exist, and she proved me wrong last month. I showed up to a support group, and we had 3 or 4 of us there, and it was a very helpful and informative session. So
That's great to hear.
right. I have family, friends, and my wife as my primary caretaker. I would refer to her as, but she's a wife and a caretaker. My family and friends are all involved. Your support team will become your lifeline. It's a team sport. You're not going to get that ball across that finish line without people blocking and moving people out of the way so you can do that. So
you need a lot of advocates. Absolutely.
yeah. I could talk days about how to find them, because I've been through a lot of seen a lot, been through a lot. But my criteria is for selecting a team member is simple. I need to understand that they're compassionate, and that they are experienced. I don't want to be training someone. I want someone that's dealt with this before, and I want somebody that's compassionate, and that will listen to what I have to say, if that makes sense.
Total. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And most of all, they need to understand the many different aspects of dealing with a traumatic brain injury, and just be willing to listen. My number one advice is don't settle, and continue to improve and expand the team as needed. If something's not working for you, replace it immediately. Don't just hang in there and go. It's your health, it's your care. If it's not a good fit for you, you're wasting your time. You should replace it immediately.
You're the quarterback, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We talked about that on the first podcast. So, yep, you call the plays.
And really, only you know what's right for you. Your caregivers and stuff can offer advice to help you stay kind of regulated emotionally and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you know what's going to work for you. And so this is the job that's your burden. Lots of people will help you with it, but it is your burden. This next one is very hard, and it's so important. You have to understand your caregivers need and deserve a break as well. The dramatic changes you're going through not only affect you, but all involved with your ongoing care. All of these people above here, they're affected by that. Your family, your friends, they're all affected by what's happened to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to give them the time and respect they deserve. They're your lifeline. Don't mess with the people that are feeding you.
Well, exactly.
They're your lifeline. Yes.
But it's it's a two-way street, right? And like you said, this is a tough one, Steve, because different different people need varying levels of care. If they have a traumatic brain injury, and yeah, as a caregiver, I mean, my wife Ruth and I are both, we're co-captains here of Team Kevin, right? And it's tough sometimes, and yeah, downtime, a little bit of a break or some respite or whatever. You know, we all need that. We all need that once in a while. So
Yeah, being able to step away and knowing that somebody else has got you for even if it's just for a brief moment or time for you all to go to dinner or something like that, that just know that to be able to do that and not have that worry,
right.
that somebody's got your back is quite important.
Well,
Yeah.
Steve, something else comes to mind before we move on to lesson number 2, but in fact, it may be in your one of your other upcoming slides, but and you and I think talked about it offline before even, but as far as support teams, and you're talking about caregivers and they deserve a break as well, it's important to, you know, there's a lot of support groups available for them as well, right? Not always easy to find, but you know, I see out on Facebook, so I'm part of different Facebook group, you know, parents of children or adults with special needs, and there's a whole bunch of I'm just blown away sometimes when I look at some of this, but it's their group therapy, right? I mean, for some of the parents and caregivers out there. So, you know, I know you encourage this, but yeah, caregivers should have a little support group of like individuals themselves as well, right?
Yep. We have a caregiver support group in Kentucky for the Brain Injury Alliance. My wife, I can't tell you how many of those support groups or caregivers like TBI wives and stuff like that, where other wives can talk about you know, very intimate details about what's going on in their lives around a brain injury, and
Yeah.
it's really good.
It's
And
kind of an emotional safety net, right?
yeah,
Little
yeah,
support group. So no, I get it. No, this is great, Steve. I mean, I know you said these weren't in any specific order, or one is not necessarily more important to the other, and they're all interdependent. I totally get that and agree, but I think you aptly identified lesson number 1 here. It does start with your support team, right? I mean, it's
yeah. You got to have a team to help pull all of the other stuff together. Yeah,
yep,
yep, for certain.
absolutely. All
Yep.
right, this is awesome.
All right, let's move on. Lesson number 2. Learn how to tell your story. Uh, spend time to understand every aspect of your energy of your injury. Seek to understand before wanting to be understood. I don't know if you've read Stephen Covey before.
Oh
That's
yeah,
one of the sharpening the saw. That's what that is.
yep,
You know, understand before you try to ask others to understand you, and that takes time. Learning about brain injury is a full-time job. uh, Take time to document your journey along the way. People, journaling is a very good outlet and very healthy outlet. Uh, Anything you can do to document your journey. I take pictures. I'm doing this to document my journey. Hope to continue to do this. The experiences you have had and the things you've learned along the way can prevent many others from suffering countless failures. They'll eventually stumble upon what you're going to tell them,
yeah,
but it'll be painful for them, like it was for you. Ease that pain. Communicate this. We need to share. You know, hey, this is how it affected me. Those kind of things. And this next one is the hardest thing it is for me to do ever. Like I said, all of these are not really lessons learned. I'm learning these. You got to learn to be tolerant or ignore people that don't immediately understand your story, don't get it. understanding all the many aspects of a TBI can take time. And for me, it's been years, and I'm still learning stuff about it. So just imagine someone that's never heard of a TBI, how difficult it must be for them to grasp the first time that this information is given to them. Be tolerant, learn to move on, learn to scroll. I tell people, learn to scroll, use the little wheel on your mouse, scroll on, don't engage. And last, be open and honest. That's why I'm doing this. Everybody says, why would you disclose this kind of information? I'm disclosing this kind of information because it'll help others, and hopefully it'll inspire others to disclose this information so people can really learn from this silent epidemic, as it's referred to.
No, Steve, you're spot on. Look, it does. I'll say straight up, at least in my view, it does take courage to do what you're doing, but that is you're giving back, and that's the most amazing, incredible, helpful thing you can do for others, as you said. So no, it's I love it. You just keep it coming, and like you said, even if I've always felt if I could learn, just take one or two things away from conversations like these, right? It's one or two more things than I knew before, right? So I'm I come out ahead of the game. I win. I'm winning. So I think this is great. The other thing that just came to mind is you're talking about the complexity of this, and other people may struggle trying to understand what a TBI is and how to deal with you either individually or holistically, right? More broadly speaking, with someone with a TBI. You shared with me, I believe it was you that shared with me when we first reconnected. Maybe we could put these in on part 3. Add a slide to this, unless you've got it out there. But I think you shared 3 little short. Most of them were animated. I think all 3 of these were little animated cartoons of sorts.
Oh yeah.
About
there was a brain injury lawyer in New York. I think last name Kaplan or something, and he does a podcast once a week about brain injury, and he's the most passionate person I've ever seen. He's the attorney and on the board of the Brain Injury Association of America. And
okay.
I mean, he goes at them hard and heavy, and those are some of his videos he's produced. That card
were,
that
I'll tell you
in my
what.
wallet,
Yeah.
that card that I carry in my wallet, they give that to any brain injury survivor that will go. That law firm doesn't matter if they're in New York or where they are. They give them to anybody. I got mine from them. It's a great service.
If there's a way to share those 3 clips, if you're comfortable doing that, maybe we could do that in part 3 or an add-on slide we'll post or something. But I'll tell you what, I got feedback from a few people I had shared those with that were they said, wow, these were great. I mean, they were just animated little cartoons, right?
But they had a great point.
They had a great theme and a way to make you understand. I mean, one of them was even about a family of birds, right? The baby bird fell out of the nest or something and hit its head, and the family and that had to deal with it and couldn't quite figure it out at first. I mean, it was an interesting and impactful way of sharing that affliction or injury, right? So anyway, didn't want to slow you down here,
but no, not at all. That's what
that was great
to discuss things. I can tell you, if you get the courage to be open and honest, it's such a relief to get that weight off your shoulder that you've been hiding under. for so much time. It's hard, and you don't know what the reception is going to be of your message. But I got to tell you, it's a relief to not hide behind those things anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe it. That's great. Okay.
All right.
Moving on to number 3.
We're going to talk about the importance of rest and nutrition. 2 things that you can do to help yourself is watch what you put into your body, and make sure you're getting plenty of rest. Now, we all struggle with this. I struggle with weight. Because I struggle with other things that make you overeat or give you bad habits and stuff like that. But rest and nutrition is the number one thing that's under your control. Your brain is 73% water. It takes 2% dehydration to affect your attention, memory, and other cognitive skills. You have to stay hydrated. You're working at a disadvantage, so you use every resource you have, and staying hydrated is an important part.
That is, yeah, I'll share something about our Kevin again. This one's a tough one for him, and I don't even want to begin to explain why, but I'll tell you what, he has some days where he is sucking down the fluids, right? Which is good. We encourage him, just keep doing it, water and other things. And then there are some days that it's like we can't get him to drink a glass of anything, for a better part of the day. But you're right that this is extremely important to stay hydrated, for a lot of reasons, certainly for the brain, right?
I've noticed, even in caring for our elderly parents, dehydration is a big issue. You can really see the cognitive difference. It's visually evident that dehydration can cause some serious issues. So stay hydrated. I don't know. I'm fortunately been a water drinker all my life, and so I don't have an issue staying hydrated, but lots do. And staying hydrated is important. Sleep is a crucial part of cognitive health. The hours you spend sleeping are important for allowing your brain to repair and recharge and rid itself of toxins. As a TBI survivor, you will likely require more sleep than people without. Depending on how your day has gone would be how much sleep. I can tell you, when I went to the brain center in Asheville to my functional neurologist, when I left there, I went back home, or went back to where I was staying. I ate and I slept for 14 hours because I had to do it again the next day. It was exhausting.
Well, hey, but your body obviously needed the sleep and rest, right? I'm curious, how's your how would you grade yourself or rate yourself overall for being able to fall asleep in a reasonable amount of time and get a good night's rest? And I am asking you because our son Kevin, that's another one, almost like the fluid, Steve. It is peaks and valleys. There are some nights Kevin will get a good rest and we feel great about it, and it usually follows with a pretty good day. Not surprising, right? But then there are other days where he's barely sleeping and he's up and pacing the floors, and melatonin is our friend here in our house. I'll tell you. It's natural, and we do give him a melatonin to kind of get him relaxed a bit.
I it depends on the emotional regulation is the controlling factor of getting a good night's sleep. I can tell you.
Sure.
At least for me it is, and I'm fortunate enough that I can eventually get to sleep, and we'll sleep for at least 8 hours. I have sleep apnea, and so I have to wear a mask and all kinds of stuff. I have carpal tunnel. I have to wear braces, so it's like it's like a chore to go to bed sometimes.
You're wired up for
Yeah,
bed.
yeah. So it's like a chore before you to get to bed, but I do okay with it. If my mind's on fire, deep in thought, or I've been triggered or something, it's a crapshoot, and still is to this day. I can tell you. And that leads to, I'll just get up and get something to eat, and eating at the wrong time, messing up the nutritional part of things. It can
Yeah, kind
hurt
of
you. Yeah.
sometimes it could set you back a bit, right?
Yeah, yeah. Don't cheat yourself. It'll cost you in the long
Right.
run. You'll eventually have to make up for those hours that you didn't sleep. And it'll come at the worst time.
Right.
At least that's
Always.
the way it's been for me. Yeah, yeah. Look for ways to calm your mind during the day. Other forms of rest. Some examples are, I don't care what doctor you go to, mindfulness, meditation. Everyone says do it, and everyone says that's the key to a better life. But you know what? When you got anxiety disorders out the wazoo, meditating is pretty hard to do.
Sure. Yeah.
Stay focused on one thing and not your mind out of control. Deep breathing, or something as simple as putting on noise canceling headphones and playing a couple songs from your favorite playlist. That's usually how I rest.
Mm-hmm.
Now I listen to some music. I actually have a little service dog that pokes me to go out every 2 hours, and so I have to take breaks. So just from a simple standpoint, and I do use there's a breathe app on the Apple Watch, and I've got it set to come up, and it makes me to just stop and take deep breaths to a rhythm for 1 minute every 2 hours, and
Mm-hmm.
I do that. Try to build that as a habit. You'd be surprised as the benefits of a deep breath.
Oh yeah.
Learning
I
how to take a deep breath is super important.
Sure.
If you're breathing and your chest is expanding, you're not deep breathing. You're gasping for air. Your abdomen should expand when you're breathing deeply. And sometimes we don't know that, or sometimes we're wound up too tight that we start breathing through our chest and stuff. And it's a
Now
gap.
that's exactly what we do with Kevin quite often,
Yeah.
Steve. We'll calm him down if he's having that, anxious moment or whatever, and get him on some breathing, taking some deep breaths. And like you said, fill the belly, from the belly. And that helps. It
Yeah.
absolutely helps.
Yeah. It's the power of the exhale.
Yep.
When you get irritated and stuff and people sigh, that's an exhale. That there's a benefit of that. You're doing that for a reason. So make your exhales longer than your inhale. And just if it's just a minute every 2 hours, it's a minute. That's 100% improvement from what you did yesterday. If you do that, and it can help. The noise canceling headphones and the music does good for me, and really helps me stay regulated as well.
Sure.
The modern diet is low in omega-3 essential fatty acids. Low levels of omega-3 result in brain shrinkage equivalent to 2 years of structural brain aging. Eat a high healthy fat diet, your brain will thank you. All doctors will tell you, eat salmon, eat avocados, eat the superfoods, the high healthy fats. And and your brain will thank you. I can tell the difference.
Sure.
We're so compromised is that what most people don't see is that like if I eat a bunch of stuff that has preservatives in it and unnatural stuff, bunches of sugar and stuff like that, I can feel a cognitive difference just
Oh
by
yeah.
consuming the wrong thing. And so I work on this every day, but I do know the importance of it. And I've seen them. But the important thing is I've seen when I do right what the benefits are. It's just it's a lot to keep up with.
Oh, absolutely. Now, just curious. So certainly, it is better to eat, these nutritious foods that are good for your brain and that. But there are also some supplements out there, right? Like fish oil and omega-3 tablets. Do you do any supplements, or do you try to get it all?
I do very little supplements anymore. I try to get everything through natural food source. The closest thing to supplements I take is that I replace coffee with a mushroom coffee. That's six mushrooms that are good for cognitive health and stuff like that.
Okay.
I switch my coffee out to that, and those would be considered people take those as supplements as well.
Sure. Yep.
I just take them as a drink. The functional neurologist gave me lots of supplements, they did do a great job. It's just keeping up with all of that and ingesting and the sheer cost of that.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
natural supplements are higher than prescription drugs these days. Yeah,
They sure are.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one thing that I've learned here recently, and I've found that it makes a difference, is your brain in your head isn't your only brain. There's a second brain in your intestines that contains 100 million neurons. Gut bacteria are responsible for making over 30 neurotransmitters, including 95% of the body's serotonin, the so-called happy drug, the thing that they give you. Everybody's probably been on SSRIs that are made to regulate your serotonin. This is having a healthy gut will help your body
Yep.
produce more serotonin. Period. Eat foods rich in probiotics, and to help maintain a proper gut health. Try to eat natural foods and stuff, and take advantage of your body's ability to produce serotonin.
Well, you said this great, because I'll tell you, just this past Friday, ironically, Ruth and I were in the doctor's office with Kevin, the gastrologist, the gastro in what's the word I'm looking for here? The gastro doctor, I call him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we took Kevin in there. Kevin's been with him before, and over the last years we had an attempt at a colonoscopy, and the prep didn't work out for Kevin and all that. But Kevin's got some, he's got some, let's just say, some digestive issues now and then. But that's exactly what the doctor was saying to us just this past Friday about this brain. This brain is not only here, right? We got it in our gut, and it helped. Those other parts of your body are very important too, because it keeps everything flowing properly, and gut health is important. So
Yeah,
we're trying to get that in check here. We got
it's
a lot
another
of work to
thing
do.
you can get through supplements. I get my probiotics through. I drink kombucha, fermented tea that has an overabundance of probiotics in it. I drink about 4 ounces in the morning, and then I'm done. That helps. Also, in that mushroom coffee, there's a couple of the mushrooms in there that are there for gut health as well. So, I found that helps. If I follow my other lessons learned, sometimes we want that cheeseburger, and sometimes we want
Oh yeah.
fries and pie and all of the stuff that we know we shouldn't eat, but you know what, we did it before, and so
That's right.
it's a balance, but rest and nutrition is important. You control what goes into your body. I just scratch the surface on that. There's so many nutritional supplements and advices on eating and that kind of stuff, but I try to keep it just very simple,
Sure.
high fat
Yep.
and gut health, and drink some water. Those are very important.
All of this is very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
All right. Lesson number 4. I am
So Steve, I think we're gonna go, let's go through this one. Let's spend the next 5 to 10 minutes. We'll go through number 4, and then I think we'll cap part 2 of this podcast.
okay. Perfect.
And but this is another very important one. I'm kind of I'm glad in a way, and this is a little sarcasm on my part and a little bad humor, but I'm kind of glad my wife Ruth isn't standing in a room with me on this one, because I'll share some stories with you as you go here. She thinks sometimes I push Kevin to the limit a little bit too much. She is of the mindset of less, and I'm of the mindset of more for him, and we're always trying to find a good balance. But take it away. Take this one away, if you will.
First thing, you need to take frequent breaks from things, especially if you're working. It's one of the things that I can't do. If I'm dug in deep at work, the last thing I want to do is stop and have to come back and figure out where you left off and those kind of things. If you're deep into the dig, you want to keep digging, and it's difficult for me. I got to tell you, my puppy helps with that more so than anything. He wants to go out every 2 hours like clockwork, and he's been a new addition. And I probably walked more in the past month that I've had him around our subdivision than I have walked in the past 5 years. So that it's got me up and moving at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Learn to say no without guilt or remorse. People are going to come at you. It's their job to ask. It's your job to say no. You have to learn to say no and don't feel guilty about it. Sometimes, enough's enough. You want to do everything. You want to please everyone, but sometimes you just have to say no. This is hard for me. I'm a people pleaser, and it's just kind of the way I was brought up. And this one's been hard for me. It's still a work in progress. And I can tell you, by saying yes to more than I can handle has led to more self-inflicted setbacks. Most things combined, just because I didn't learn to say no, or not, maybe even not even learn to say no, but maybe learn to postpone.
Sure.
Yeah.
Postpone, reschedule, whatever it takes sometimes.
Yeah. Learn to accept help graciously, but don't expect it. I mean, there'll be things you either can't do or are a huge drain on your cognitive resources. There's things that just suck the life out of me to do that my wife can do in 5 minutes, and it doesn't bother her at all. And so she does them sometimes, just to reserve my resources, and I greatly appreciate it. And some people would even refer to it as enabling, but if if you understand what a drain some things can be that most of us take for granted can be to somebody that has some of these challenges, it's can be difficult sometimes. Accept what you can't change and change what you can accept. If there's something that you just can't tolerate, I tell you what, I've been having troubles. I use a mouse for a living, and I've got carpal tunnel and all kinds of stuff going on. And when I'm not emotionally regulated, and that's most of the time, my hand shakes tremendously, and so it was hard for me to use the mouse. I found a vertical mouse that I'm using right now to try to combat some of the all day long I'm clicking the right click when I should be clicking the left click, and stuff like that. Those kind of irritations or subtle ways of pointing out that you're not doing things right can take its toll on you over a day's time of it happening. And so I kept searching, and I keep looking for different mice. I'll probably have a collection of them here until I find one I can settle on that it gives me the help I need. One of the hardest things you'll have to come to terms with is that you have limitations. Now that never existed pre-TBI. This doesn't happen overnight. Be kind to yourself. You'll try, you'll fail, you'll try, you'll fail. Try to understand your limitations, and just understand that you might have that limitation, but you might excel in the other areas. So be kind to yourself. You're going to have to admit you can't do a whole lot of things that you used to be able to do, and that's hard. At least it has been for me. My last thing here is probably one of the things that I wished I had done sooner than later. Is if you're able to remain employed, request ADA accommodations in the workplace sooner than later. There's plenty of guides out there about returning to work after brain injury and stuff like that. Mayo Clinic and several of them have them. This scares most people because they think they're exposing their handicaps and it might jeopardize their job. You go through all of these. I spent almost 2 years being one of those people, so I can tell you all of the negative thoughts that go around in your mind saying, what, they know this, I'm not going to be able to have a job, they're going to fire me, that kind of stuff. What I found out was the exact opposite.
Good.
What I found out was having an open, honest conversation with my employer was a relief, and I no longer had to hide who I was. They were compassionate and helpful. They adjusted my duties, provided me with flexible work schedule, provided technology changes, and gave me time off when needed without asking. What an improvement this has made for me. I can tell you, I could have diverted many setbacks from having this conversation in the early stages of my recovery. It took me almost 2 years to have this conversation. So,
well, Steve, as I shared with the audience in part one, as you and I were kicking that first part one podcast off, you and I worked for the same employer that you're working for today. And so it warms my heart to hear that they've been handling things well and doing the right thing by you. So that's great to hear. I'm proud to hear that. That's great.
I could not ask for a better company. I don't think I could have found a more understanding company, work condition, and that kind of stuff. I likely would be unemployed if it wasn't for that. So
no, that's great to hear. So as we close out here on slide 4, lesson number 4. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, this is one that I personally need to work on behalf of Kevin. And because, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, yeah, I have a tendency to fill up a calendar with, activities, most of them fun things, right? And things that Kevin loves to do. But, I catch myself sometimes and realize it's overload. And, I've got to go through my own personal, whatever the right word is, reflection and realization, and make some changes of my own, because I've come to realize that things change in a split moment, and we could have a full calendar, and then I realized that it's hard to plan most things for us these days with Kevin. I've noticed, even though he's only 37 years old, every year it gets more difficult in predictability, right? There's some more unpredictability, and things can be a little too taxing on him. And even as things as fun and simple as a baseball game, right? I'm finding myself, I can't buy tickets for next week or next month's Detroit Tiger baseball game, because I have no idea what kind of mood Kevin's going to be in on that particular day, right? We have a lot of other activities, all these clubs and that Kevin belongs to, some here in Michigan, more so in Florida. And at the last minute, we've had to opt out and cancel, just because it's not the best thing for him at that moment. So I'm looking at this slide saying, for me personally, I've got to understand and be more respectful and more cognizant that Kevin's getting more and more limitations, and I need to fall in line. Let's put it that way.
I bet Ruth will take care of that for you.
She will take care of that. She is my counterbalance, Steve,
There you go.
and keeps me grounded on that. So, and she's right.
And it doesn't hurt to push.
No.
I mean, gentle nudges have helped me a long way.
Yeah.
I can tell you, the 2 weeks that I spent in that functional neurologist center, it was like a compassionate high school football coach.
Sure.
You were bouncing from one room to the other, and you were going to do it, but they were nice and had a smile on their face while they made you do it. So
it hurts sometimes, right? But progress, it takes some pushing. So
sometimes you have to put the time in as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, look, I think we're going to cap this conversation here for today.
Okay.
Really, really appreciate your insight, Steve, and you sharing them with this audience here. So we'll come back at it in the near future here, and we're going to continue. If it takes 2 more podcasts to get through the last 6 lessons learned, then so be it, right? But I think this is important. I hope the audience finds value in this and has some takeaways here. So, Steve, I want to personally thank you once again for your time, putting your thoughts together in this manner. And to our audience, we really appreciate you following us at KevAdvoTech and supporting Steve here. And we'll be back with part 3 in the near future. So thank you for joining.